On board. Okay. So this is again your first class with the Cult Skills live mentorship programs, and you are on deep learning. So moreover, introducing you the framework right here, we would not go for any lecture based or lecture oriented mechanisms. We will not go for any course documents or PDFs to work on, because there will be hundreds and thousands of PDF available on internet, and written by double PhD, triple PhD. I cannot write better than them. Very simple enough. Okay. So the agenda of this program will not be to give you enough of material that is already there on internet. You can follow any book out there. One particular book on deep learning will be sufficient. Even you are not supposed to follow any book, because you are not school students. Fine. So you can go check any concept you want on internet as well. You will find enough of material for that, but that will not be required, because we will be covering each and every topic in depth right here itself. I'll not be giving you any written notes or so. Your complete attention is required to be in this course itself. Fine. Whatever doubts you'll be having, you can ask it to me live right now. If you get your doubt later, you can call me and ask me that, or you can put it on my WhatsApp. Otherwise, you can ask me in next class as well, or wherever you find any span of time, you can ask me. I'll be available from morning 10 a.m. to night 2 a.m. Fine. So in this time, you can ask me anytime, any sort of doubt. Coming on to what we'll be covering throughout the course. So this course, I have some pointers with me. I'll not say a kind of syllabus. I have these pointers with me to discuss about in depth. So we have model 1, which is general introduction, model 2, which is artificial neural networks, and model 3, which is brushing up the tools about TensorFlow and Keras and so on. Module 4 with some hands-on, then so on we have till module number 9, and yeah, module number 9. So apart from module number 9, we have some extras, and yeah, two extras. So extras 1 is over chatbot development, and there is an extras 2 over reinforcement learning. So this is a kind of optional track we will be following after all the modules which we have covered. So this course you can visit at cultskills.com, and you can visit this deep learning page. Right. Now our agenda would not be cover the course in 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours. It doesn't like matter to me how many hours it take. Okay, our agenda should be to cover and to have you the confidence that yes, you know deep learning now in depth. Fine. This is what I want out of this course. No matter it will take 40 hours or 50 hours or 20 hours or 10 hours, if you will be able to cover it in 20 hours, there is no need to cover it, keep on pushing it on and on and on, obviously. So we'll not be going for a time framework. We'll be going for the agenda that you, after this course, should be a deep learning developer. You know how to write the code into deep learning. That is what our agenda looks like with this course. Fine. Are we comfortable with this so far?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good. So today, one thing will be going for the installation part. So I would suggest you, if you do not have TensorFlow and Keras installed in your system, what you need to do side by side, so that our part of learning would keep on going. Or you can do it at the end of this class as well later on, because it will consume a lot of internet, and there should not be any internet glitch into it. For the installation, what you need to write here is pip. First, you need to check whether you have pip or not. You can check it by this. I do not have pip. I have pip 3 with me. Okay. So I will get some manual about pip 3. Yeah, this one.
Sir, can I, sir, hello?
Yeah.
Sir, can I use Anaconda for throughout the section, or I need to install pip?
No, you can wait for this session to be ended. By the end of this class, you can install that. Okay. So by the end of this class, you will be able to install this whole stuff, pip and TensorFlow and Keras and everything into it. Now, if you do not have pip, suppose you are on Linux, so what you need to do is you need to write in Linux, Python is pre-installed, and what you need to write is sudo. Okay, even need not to cram. If you'll just write pip, you will get a command sudo apt install python pip, or sudo apt install python 3 pip. So with this way, you can also install pip. I'll show you that what does it mean. Okay, I'll be installing pip for Python 3. I gave my password, and it is saying that okay, Python 3 pip is already the newest version. Well, I do have pip with me. If you will not be having any pip in your system, you will be able to install it. Okay. Then what you need to do side by side, you need to write the command pip3 install Keras and you need to install it. And similarly, you need to write the command pip3 install TensorFlow and you need to install it.
We
Moreover,
installed Keras during that boot camp, so we have to do it again.
no, it's not required to do it again. If you do have the package, that will be sufficient. What you can do is, in order to confirm that whether you have TensorFlow and Keras with you or not, what you can check is you can go with pip3 show TensorFlow and pip3 show Keras. If you'll find any error in installation, so what you are supposed to do, pip3 install TensorFlow. If you want to install it for a particular user or this sort of error you are getting, you can write here user pip3 install TensorFlow --user. That will work. Same way in Windows as well. Okay. So in Windows, the command for installing pip would be different. Indeed, there will not be any command. There will be the package. You need to install the Python and you need to set the path for Python and pip. It will work. Anyways, so this is just a short tip I want to add on into this. Let's start with what does it mean by the word when we say deep learning, why it is so much in boom, why it is so much having a lot of job requirements into it and big salary out there, and why what particularly special is about this deep learning that isn't there with any other stuff like web development, Android development or so. Why we are learning this, why do we need to pay for this, and why do we need to put attention over this in order to have our career as a solid one. So the thing is that deep learning is one of the mechanism of machine learning. I'll start with the basic introduction of machine learning. This is a prerequisite. So prerequisite of this course would be something that you need to know the concepts of deep learning right there. Okay. So machine learning is a mechanism in which a machine takes in the data, understand the pattern out of it from the data, and just store that pattern in some or the other format. We call it as a model, trained model. Okay. Now out of that trained model, what does that machine learning do? We use that trained model and those patterns, or we call that equations, to apply those equations on the new unseen data, and that machine learning model gives us the output. Is this concept clear to you? Because this is the 90% of the thing which we need to borrow, exactly this, nothing else. So 10% more other stuff we'll come up with, but is this definition clear to both of you? I'll repeat it again. There is something like data. We pass this data to a code which we write, and that code is basically known as the machine learning's code. Okay, machine learning's algorithm. Okay, I'll call it algorithm from now on. So we pass the data to the algorithm we designed. Then that algorithm will absorb the data and just try to fetch the patterns out of it, patterns and generalizations and behaviors of the data in different dimensions and in different perspectives. Then the data would be discarded and the patterns would be stored. Okay, the equation generalizations patterns should be stored in some or the other format. In any format you can say, like that is not the scope of study that how does it be stored, but in any format it gets stored. Now once it gets stored, you will just save that model and you use that model for the new unseen data, and this whole concept is known as prediction with machine learning, and machine is making this prediction. Fine, are we so far on the same track till now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other participant, Mehak? Yeah, fine. Now, how does the same mechanism is actually being implemented in deep learning as well? We have data, we write algorithm, and in deep learning, algorithm sounds like neural network. Okay, so we write a particular neural network structure, and that neural network structure basically absorbs the data, understand the pattern out of it, store that pattern in the form of model that we say as model, discard the data, just keep that model with it, and then we use that model, the trained model, on the unseen data to predict, and we say that now not machine learning but our deep learning is predicting. So what is the difference between them? I'll tell you about the difference, but before that I would like to show you some videos which I have actually shown on the machine learning batch as well. So the video is nothing more than, I'll just show you, Amazon Go. If you have visited that earlier, you would be knowing it. I just want you to just pay some attention over this video and just try to understand what it is actually doing and how it is related to deep learning.
Sir,
Right.
can you share your screen, sir? Renan?
Okay, yeah, I forgot. So there is a video in front of you, and I'll just play it up. And what you need to do is, you need to understand that what this particular concept of Amazon Go is, and out of this concept, where is the deep learning involved into it, and what is going on actually? Like, how can this be related to our subject, the deep learning part? Let's go for it.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store,
I get some message.
Yeah, I did it by mistake.
Okay, no worries.
grab what you want, and just go?
Okay, I'll put it back if there is any confusion.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Well, so what's your comment about that? The usage of deep learning into it. How come deep learning comes into picture, or how it is related to our subject as a whole, or machine learning, deep learning, how it is related to artificial intelligence in general? Anyone of you wants to go out for that?
In updating the cart accordingly, like when they pick up something to
Hmm?
purchase. So if like I don't want it and I keep it back, so my cart is being updated continuously.
Well, that is just nothing more than a data structure going on, and an item is added into the list and item is removed from the list, just like an array, push and pop operation, stack.
डीप
That's the kind
लर्निंग
of data.
मोस्टली प्रोबेबिलिटी के लिए यूज होता है ना, सो वो ये कर सकते हैं कि आगे व्हाट वुड यू लाइक टू हैव एंड व्हाट आइल इट्स ऑन.
Yeah, but वो इस वीडियो में कहीं नहीं था. मतलब
हाँ,
हाँ, I
तो उसके
understand that
अलावा
that thing is what you're talking about, the Amazon recommendation, right?
या
If you have bought bread, then you might also like milk, something like this, right?
या और
So,
दैट इफ यू ब्रॉट bread the last days and
hmm,
you come again, so it will tell you what aisle you have to go to, but all that was not involved in the video.
yeah, exactly. That's what not involved in the video. That is there for that is being used by different malls to actually place the items accordingly. Where to place which item. For this, the big malls actually they are using such sort of technologies. Okay, but that's not so special about Amazon Go. What is so special about Amazon Go? They introduced the billingless mall. Like there is no billing counter and there is no need for billing counter. What is like into this? What is about deep learning? Because that's why I shown you not any other like any other mall into it. I have shown you the Amazon Go specifically. Why so?
Security.
Well, not
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't actually relate it to deep learning.
Okay, what about you, Raghunathan?
Yes, sir. I have also one doubt. Why it's like a data structure, sir? How we can relate it to deep learning?
Well, I'll come to this. I'll go back some steps on the video and I'll try to go for each and every single thing into it. Okay, I'll start it from.
Want and just it's
Well, do you
one
think like?
one
Okay, wait. Please put it on mute. There is some noise at the back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So, do you think like this part is anyhow connected with deep learning?
go app to enter. Then put away
This is just a kind of security mechanism
Yeah.
which could be implemented with a barcode as well. But what they said, they had shown you a barcode in your phone.
Yeah.
Amazon Go.
Okay, it's not a kind of RFID or so. Okay, this is something like what you do in the case of Paytm payment or PhonePe payment as well, right?
Yeah.
That is it. Now let's move ahead.
It's really that simple. Take whatever
Now the person has picked a can, juice can. Okay. Now the juice can would be having some ID, and how would that juice can be identified with the help of sensors placed below that juice can or at that place, and that sensor has a value. Okay, so this is sensor
But
1.1.
sensors don't really need deep learning, do they?
No. I'm not relating this part into deep learning. This is what I'm answering with the help of sensor fusion. That this
Yeah.
is what the sensors are actually deciding that this is a juice can. Okay, so the person has picked juice can. Now, which person is the question?
I do have a doubt about this though. That
Yeah,
let's say two people are shopping in the same aisle,
yeah.
and one I pick up orange juice and the other one picks up apple juice. How does that sensor know which cart to add that juice to?
Exactly. That is where the deep learning comes in. Now there is one person. See, just this one.
products automatically added to your virtual cart.
Now, how on the virtual card of this yellow jacket girl? The reason is there is something like face recognition going on in the mall that out of all the 15, 20, 50, 100,000 people inside that complex, this person is matching to person number 5 or customer ID number 5, something like this. Is that thing now relatable with deep learning?
Uh,
So you have
if
basically a
sensor,
mechanism. You have a mechanism of entrance that is similar like phone pay barcode, Google Pay barcode, Paytm barcode. Then you have two more mechanisms. One of choosing the item and second one of choosing the person and mapping both of them. So picking the item means adding the item into the cart for that person which is recognized at that place, somehow like this. Obviously it is by Amazon, so it would be having different layers of security into it, but I just have discussed the concept behind that. Now is it relatable to deep learning?
yeah.
And how it is
yes,
the
sir.
sparkling, how this sparkling orange, I don't know what it is, it's a kind of syrup or juice or so, it is of two quantity, so this is
Sir,
just
can
nothing
I have
more than
doubt?
the data structure. Yeah.
Sir, we are mapping with the customer and product, sir.
Yeah.
Instead of that, if I have one doubt, if everyone has a phone before going into the mall, that there will be a pattern like a Paytm organization on the code.
Right at the entrance.
If a person taking at an Apple or a product, any product, in front of that that phone, use a computer vision and take that picture of an product and take an amount, what amount or what category it is, and add the data into a virtual.
Not
Uh,
exactly. Not exactly. See, the
so
products
not
are
sir.
already the products are already mentioned and added into their database. Every single detail about the product, the name, price, and discount, and all the energy distribution chart for the edible things, like the energy value and this value and this oil value, that oil value, all the things, and MRP and expiry date and everything should be there on the database itself, and the sensor would just return you the product ID. So this is product number 5 and customer number 3. So add product number 5 into the cart of customer number 3. So whatever value of that product would be, the price value, MRP, that will be added on the cart. And when you check out, shown right here,
When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon card.
okay, so it will charge you once you leave. So if you have picked something and left something and again picked something. So then you will be charged for 1 unit only because you have picked, then left, then again picked. So what you are carrying out is just 1 unit of this salad and 1 unit of this ketchup type of stuff, whatever it is, I don't know. Okay, and you are charged accordingly. And so there would be some electronic wallet going on, like PhonePe wallet or Paytm wallet. Now is it clear the concept behind it?
Yes.
Yes, sir. What
Any
I have
doubt?
about it,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know, if a person, one person has a taken product and a certain they suddenly dropped, what going on? Unfortunately, they
Suddenly,
have picked up what I say, sir. The product will be dropped suddenly, sir. They do not know. They don't know. The product has been fall down. That at the
okay,
time the
dropped
product
where?
amount will
Dropped
be
where? Dropped
yeah,
where? Dropped where?
yeah,
Like inside the complex?
inside the mall, sir.
Okay, so you can just pick it up and put it on the rack where it is supposed to be. What is wrong into it? When
If
you put
they
it
get
back,
damaged by then,
yeah, when you put it back, it will be removed from your cart. Simple enough. And obviously, it is by Amazon. It will not be by any local company. So at the checkout gates, okay, so at the checkout gate, you can see there would be again different kind of scanners for scanning the items that only these items are going out. And this is the theory you can easily buy or borrow from the existing malls. So even every simple mall is also has this sort of technology. The scanner at the gate, they'll just scan that anything apart from billing is not going out. Otherwise, it'll raise some alarm.
but what if the product gets damaged and then we keep it back on the rack?
So there would be something else for that, might be. Well, I'm not justifying Amazon Go. I'm just justifying the concept of deep learning, that what actually going on with deep learning right now. And showing you the another example of Amazon itself. There is like Amazon drone delivery. Okay, so if you can get something like this, might be this one. So as you can see that every drone has a packet, just a kind of load into it, and that packet has the whatever a customer need. And I don't know like how much fake or real this video is, but it has been a concept that Amazon drone delivery is also going out in a good sense out there. Well, what I want to discuss with these example is that whatever we are learning is not anything new. Right, it's not a new technology. Deep learning is there since ages. If I'll talk about Second World War, it was having like the Second World War was having a lot of contribution into it by deep learning or machine learning type of concept, or in general artificial intelligence concept. We'll be discussing it, that what is artificial intelligence and what is deep learning, but it has a lot of involvement into it, and that is the time of around 1950s. So in that time, even deep learning and machine learning, the concept has been evolved. But right now, deep learning is in boom since 2010 so much. The reason is that there are big companies like Facebook, Google, Tesla, Microsoft, who has big amount of data about people. So there are two dependencies for deep learning. One is data and one is computational power. Now we have what is the cost of a hard disk? Like if I'll tell you 1 TB hard disk, what is the cost of a 1 TB hard disk? Hardly 3000 rupees. So you are getting 1 GB for around 3 rupees. Okay, so for 3 rupees you can get 1 GB. If I tell you about of storage, okay. If I tell you about processors, so i5, i9, i7, i9 type of processors are hardly available for 40,000, 50,000 or 30,000 as well. Right. So the cost of processing is comparatively very much down these days rather than what it was around 50 years back. So 50 years back, or the time when computers were invented, that was just used by government and the researchers and was not available to individuals or any business person. Now you can find it in every home. There will be 2-3 CPUs or 2-3 laptops or PCs or gaming devices going on. People are using it just for gaming, and that time even business people were not being able to use it. So now we have computational power, and now we have data. And who have both of these things? Actually, the IT giants, the Google and Microsoft and Tesla and those people. And that is why the major of the algorithms are being designed by these people only. If I'll tell you about IBM Watson, so I don't know if you have heard of it or not. So IBM Watson is a kind of cloud-based machine learning system which can answer actually lot many things into every domain. And I'll just give you some example that IBM Watson defeated world's something like this, I guess. Yeah. So IBM Watson has actually performed well than the top 10 cancer specialists over the world. So it has given the accuracy of classifying whether a person is having cancer or not, or what stage of cancer, and into those domains it has defeated the cancer specialist into it. Then apart from Watson, there is one more team like DeepMind. Okay, so about DeepMind, there are different things going on with DeepMind like AlphaGo, and there are different algorithms actually which are totally relying over artificial intelligence and deep learning, and are beating the top specialist of the a particular domain. If I'll tell you about Gary Kasparov, so I just need to search for. Okay, so there is a product of DeepMind which is named as Deep Blue, which has defeated Gary Kasparov, and Gary Kasparov is one of the grandmaster in chess. It has been declared the world's best chess champion. Okay, now the things going on with deep learning are so much into depth and having so much to do with that whatever we are learning into this course or whatever we can do into next year is just 0.001% of it. And what is left and how can we cover that is actually just the practice and practice and practice and practice. And the agenda behind giving you these examples is that these algorithms are built by DeepMind is built by IBM. Okay, I just you can just check it out and you will get the sorry, DeepMind is by Alphabet. The IBM Watson is by IBM. My bad, sorry, I just mixed it up. Well, so IBM itself is having a lot of data behind it. Alphabet is obviously the king of data going on throughout the world. If we'll talk about different deep learning frameworks like TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, Pyro, Theano, these are also built by the top companies. TensorFlow is built by Google, PyTorch is built by Facebook, Pyro is built by Uber, and there are different companies who are actually working to build the frameworks for deep learning so that their APIs would be used, their platform would be used, and the data would be compromised by sharing it with them. And obviously it is going on. Moreover, the social media itself is a big source of data. So YouTube once gave a statement that they generate 2 billion MBs of data daily. 2 billion MBs of data daily. That is what the statement of YouTube. Let's come on to this part. So the agenda with these examples were that deep learning is not a concept which is being renowned by these last 4-5 years only. It's in boom from last 4-5 years because now we can cater both the two dependencies about deep learning. We have data and we have the power to store data right there. Okay, just yesterday we posted something on our social handle that there are around 75 million data centers across the world, 75 million servers across the world, out of which 1 million servers are owned by Microsoft only. Okay, so is that clear now? Is that clear now? Voice? Is my voice clear now, comparatively better? Okay. Am I audible to any one of you?
Yeah, you're audible to me.
Raghunathan, am I audible to you now? Raghunathan, can you hear me? We'll just try to connect it again. Can you hear me now? Or should I wait for you to reconnect? Just okay, so let's wait for him to reconnect. There would be some internet issues. Well, we'll keep it on going in the interactive way, and it might take a lot of time for the foundation to be built. But if our foundation would be good enough, we would be knowing what we will be doing, what not to do, what to do, how it is different than machine learning, how it is different than artificial intelligence in general. You would be having good insight about it in future. Let's wait for him to join again.
Yeah.
Well, can you hear me now, Raghunathan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now,
Great. So I was just discussing with Mehak that it might take a long to build the foundation, and even it might sound boring as well. But trust me, after once our foundation would be good, we can actually speed up for the advanced topics. And if our foundation would be good, okay, please put it on mute. Noise. Can you put it on mute, please? Yeah. So once our foundation would be good enough, we'll be going with good amount of comfortability with this, and the pace would obviously would going to be good one. Now coming back to this, I hope you get the idea of what is deep learning with all the examples, but I'll try to cover it now as well. With the time, we keep on increasing our data day by day by day by day, and it will keep on going and going and going. Even now it is going on. Right now there are more than 2 billion Facebook users, and if I'll take one person, we'll just update, like we'll just make one post in a month. So you will get 2 billion posts in a month. Okay. And every post would be having a 4 line of caption at minimum, 3 line or 4 line of caption on an average. Okay. And one image of basic to basic 100 KB. So you can check the size of data we are having. 100 KB multiplied by 2 billion size of image, and 4 lines into 2 billion, that means 8 billion lines of captions we are getting in a month. And obviously people post more than one post in a month. Obviously there are corporate accounts, business pages who post 2 or 3 posts in a day as well. There are news channels who post 10 to 15 posts in a day. So the size of data is so good. There are news channels who make their YouTube live every now and then. As YouTube is free, every budding singer, budding dancer, budding artist, college going student is making a video and putting it up on YouTube. Same goes with Instagram, same goes with Twitter, and so on. So now we can solve, not we, the people who are owning Facebook and Twitter and all those things, and can solve the problem of not having data, can solve the problem of not having resources, and make an architecture which is better than machine learning to predict the things and how it is going to be. In deep learning, why do we call it deep learning? Because it has an architecture which is comparatively more complex than what it was in machine learning. So what sort of architecture is there? We have something like neural networks. Okay, so this sort of architecture in a basic one like this. So this is, you can say, a basic neural
You're
network
not
architecture.
sharing the screen.
Okay, I forgot, my bad. Yeah. So this is the basic neural network architecture right in front of you. What does it have? It has an input layer with green color. It has an output layer with this violet purple color, and it has the middle layer, which is known as hidden layer, in some sort of royal blue color. Now these hidden layers could be one or two or three or five. Like here, there are two hidden layers. Right here there are three hidden layers. There could be 15 hidden layers, 20 hidden layers. Right here you can see there are four hidden layers, and one input and one output. And the complexity of a neural network grows exponentially when we add a particular neuron into it. And that is why it is known as the deep learning mechanism, because it is having some depth. The left to right thing is the depth of this network. So it is having a depth of 3 layers. This neural network is having a depth of 5 layers, and this one is having a depth of 6 layers, and so on. Right? That is why it is known as deep learning, because we write an architecture. Obviously these balls and these arrows type of structure are not coming pre-built. We need to write that. Okay, so we are writing this architecture which will go into depth, which will traverse into 3D mechanism, and that depth is basically causing good command or good pattern discoveries from the data. Now, it will also result as something negative. The negative result is that it is complex to write these algorithms. Second negative result is it is taking a lot of time. It will take a lot of time comparative to a single layer architecture, as in the case of machine learning. So it will give you the output, but in comparatively more number of seconds or more number of minutes, or however you compare it. But there is also a positiveness of using deep learning. The positiveness behind it is that it will give you the result comparatively very much better than what machine learning is actually giving you, if you have good amount of data, if you have good amount of qualitative and representative data which you can relate with your problem statement. Then deep learning is something which can give you better result at the cost of more time and more resources it will consume. It might end up crashing your system. It might end up uh, just crashing your entire cloud instance as well if you have not written it or optimized it well. It might end up heating up your processes so much, but at the end, if it will be executed successfully, you will get good quality results. And it is comparatively, people say that this is not flexible, but it is comparatively more flexible than machine learning if you are having knowledge of all the packages. Because if you are having knowledge of packages, then these circles are just a kind of plugins. So are you guys aware of Scratch programming? Raghunathan, Mehak, do you
No,
both know what is Scratch programming?
no.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, so I'll just show you an interface of Scratch programming. Something like this. So this is a kind of puzzle which we have solved in in our childhood. Okay, so you have like here it is written, when clicked. If you can see that, although it's a bit more than enough, it's quite a lot blurred, but if you can see, it's written, when clicked, erase all, pen down, change pen size by 5, change pen color by 10. Then there is something like play sound. Then there is something like repeat 10, so it's a kind of loop, and this one is a kind of statement if condition, and so on. So this is a Scratch programming interface, and this whole thing is known as Scratch programming. Okay, so there is Scratch as a website where you can write a pseudocode with this one. Okay, so with this is basically taught to 5th class, 4th class student, wherein they learn how to write the algorithm, what is repeat, what is condition, what is loop, and so on. Similarly, in neural network, if you are very much comfortable with the packages, these circles are just a kind of plugin for you. So take a line, paste it there, you will be having a layer, not just a neuron, you will be having a layer. Take a line and paste it there, you will be having another layer. Take a line and place it there, you will be having another layer. But you need to write some amount of code and change some amount of code every now and then. For that, you need to learn everything about the core of the deep learning and everything about how to use that in the package. So we will be learning it in two ways. Firstly, what will be the what is the concept, and second thing is how to use that with a particular package. Even the arrows, you can see the structure of arrows. We can also implement this whole these whole like around 8 arrows in one line of code. Even these 4 arrows in one line of code with the help of the Keras or TensorFlow package we'll be using. Now coming on to what we'll be doing in upcoming few weeks or few months, like however long this course will going to take, we'll be going to understand about a lot many concepts as well as a lot many packages like TensorFlow and Keras. We'll be basically sticking to Keras, but we'll be having an understanding of TensorFlow as well. Then we will work on again some concepts. Then once our concepts would be damn clear, like we'll be very clear with all of our concepts, then we'll work on the algorithms. So convolution neural network is one of the algorithms, recurrent neural network, LSTM neural network, autoencoders, variation autoencoders, and a lot more. Fair enough?
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
So right now we are clear with the name, what is deep learning and why it is known as deep learning. We are clear with the difference between machine learning and deep learning. Then there are some negatives as well of using deep learning. Negative is that there are liabilities. If you do not have data, deep learning is not for you. If you do not have computational power, deep learning is not for you. If you have limited amount of data, I have shown it in that bootcamp as well. So I'll just draw a graph right here, like the performance of machine learning versus the performance of deep learning. So this is the loss, okay, or rather I'll say accuracy, and this is the data. The red color part is of machine learning, and this green color part is of deep learning. Something like this it looks like. So when we go higher on the data part, I'll draw it with some different colors. When you go higher on the data part, the deep learning performance will keep on becoming more and more and more and more like this. Okay, so deep learning is going higher. But when we are lower on the data part, we have limited data, we have small amount of data, deep learning performs worse than machine learning as well. So you need to be very clear. If you are below the cutoff, you need to use red slots, machine learning. If you are ahead of a cutoff, you need to use green slot. What is that cutoff? There is no single definition of that. So cutoff depends on the quality of data, the problem statement you are working on, and a lot many stuff. So that is, you will be having the pattern of it in very like in upcoming few classes, that what is the cutoff I'm talking about, and what is the size of data required for a machine learning system, or what is the size of data required for a deep learning system.
I have a
Why do
question.
you, yes, go on.
Yeah, can deep learning be used for unsupervised learning as well?
Well, it can be used for anything because deep learning doesn't have a supervised or unsupervised concept. It can be used for anything. There is only single way of using deep learning. Apart from that, just like I'll tell you, if you ask me, can a for loop be used to design the entire library management software? Obviously, yes. For loop is the core of concept, and library management software is the use case of it. So if we know the concept, we can use it anywhere by adding some or the other things over it. So we can use a for loop with an extra if condition, that if it is a librarian, or if it is a student, or if it is a principal, then what to do, type of stuff. Okay. So we can do the same thing with machine learning, but we can do the same thing with deep learning as well. So deep learning is a kind of tool. It doesn't have supervised or unsupervised types into it, or it doesn't have regression or classification types into it. We'll be learning how to use deep learning for regression and how to use deep learning for classification, and similarly how to use deep learning for unsupervised approaches. So what is right here named as autoencoders, I'll show you right now. Okay, this one. These autoencoders are basically an example of unsupervised learning itself. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So why to use deep learning? because it gives you more stability, more flexibility, better result, and obviously it gives you the permission of not going for data pre-processing. In deep learning, it can fetch, okay, if I want to, okay, let me just do one thing. If I want to identify, well, this is not the right, any random stuff I want to see. Okay, so deep learning can detect the faces out of these, out of this picture as well. Okay, whereas if I talk about machine learning, then we need to crop the faces, pass it on, ask the machine learning network, is this person A or person B or person C or person D? But deep learning can directly recognize the faces into this mob. And that is what I mean by that we do not need data pre-processing into it. I can show you some performances. Or just NBA basketball, something like this. Well, not exactly. Something like this with which you can relate. Okay, so this is the performance of MTCNN based architecture, which is recognizing faces into this picture. Okay, so this was the picture and it has recognizes, okay, this is a face, this is a face, this is a face, and this is not a face, and so on. Then there is a picture which I am missing right now. I'm not getting it. Okay, so from every angle, the parallel, perpendicular, from every angle, the curved face, like slanted face, or straight face, or looking down, looking up, or whatever you're doing, like whatever the scale is, whatever the pose looks like, whatever the occlusion is. Okay, the face is completely hidden with the mask right here, with the tall type of stuff, with the helmet right here, and the people are overlapping with the hug into this. Whatever your expression is, whatever sort of makeup you have done, and the illumination, it is dark or it is light, deep learning is able to do that. This is what the beauty of deep learning looks like. Okay, a lot big of pre-processing has been excluded when it comes to deep learning based network, because it is so much capable to find minute patterns out of it. The only thing you need to learn is how to get those patterns. And we discussed about what are the different trade-offs involved into it. Another thing is, whenever I discuss about deep learning, I definitely discuss about the functionality or the structure of human brain as far as I know. Even I discussed that in boot camp, but again I would be recalling this. That how does a typical human brain looks like? In a human brain, there are different units. Okay, I'll just put them in circles. Not circles, kind of some closed bodies. Okay, there are different units. These units are known as, can be replicated with neurons. Okay, so I'll be duplicating this tool and I'll be making these units in the form of neurons right here. Okay, let's imagine this is 4, or I'll draw 4. Fine, so these 4 green closed bodies and these 4 circles as neurons. And this has something on the peak, some sharp tissue or whatever you can say, the organ or whatever, like cell tissue, whatever the biological terms look like. This particular thing is known as dendrite. In this, the dendrite is the input node and the output node. So every neuron has some input and the output port. Similarly, into this is also there. There is a gap, this gap. I'll just denote it with the black color. Yes, Raghunathan, some doubt? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Raghunathan.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Raghunathan?
Hello?
Yes, go on. Okay, Raghunathan, said there is some internet glitch at your side. Please take care of that.
Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, please. Tell me.
Hello.
Raghunathan, I can hear
Hello.
you. Can you hear me back?
Hello.
Whatever doubt you are having, you can write it on text as well.
Hello.
Yes, go on.
Hello.
Mehak, can you hear him? Can you
Yeah,
hear
I can.
his voice?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hmm.
He left.
Yeah, he'll just come by. Let's wait for him. Let's wait for him to join up. Can you hear me now, Raghunathan?
Hello. Sir, can you explain me again, sir? I have
Yeah, I will. Can you
for
hear
five
me now?
minutes. Not get any. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, okay, that's great. So what I have explained is that as per the proposed theory of human brains, there are I'll not be discussing and I'll not be taking any surety of the medical concepts, but I will just discuss some proposed functioning. That there are some processing units involved into this human brain, which I have placed with these green circular bodies.
Forgot
Right?
to share
Can
your
you
screen.
share
Okay,
your
okay.
screen?
Third time I'm doing it. Okay. Yeah. So these green circular bodies, which I have replicated, which we will be replicating with this neurons. Okay, all the circles right here. Then there are some endpoints which we call as dendrites in the human body, in the human brain rather. This thing which will be replicating with the input and the output from those nodes. Then there is some hollow space between them. It could be of air, it could be of vacuum, it could be of blood, it could be of any other liquid or whatever, like any biological component into it. This thing is known as the synapse. So it is equivalent to the gap, and whether the signal will be transferred from this point, this processing unit to this processing unit will be depending upon two things, that the gap of the synapse this part. Okay, and another thing is the intensity of the signal. So if the intensity of the signal would be fair enough to cross that gap, that signal will be passed on, otherwise that signal will be blocked. Just like you go on for your entire year for the study, suppose you are a 5th class student, and at the end of the year you have an examination, and if your performance is above cutoff, you will be moved over, otherwise you will be blocked right here to do the same thing again with some other mechanism. So this thing is basically known as a channel of activation function. So if your activation function returns 1, then you will be connected to another neuron. Okay, and everything would be passed to this activation function. So this is not just activation function, this is, you can say, a kind of function for this neuron, and it will do 3-4 tasks which we'll keep on discussing every now and then. Then there would be another neuron and the preprocessor pair, and there would be another neuron and preprocessor pair. Something like this it looks like. Okay, only and only if these functions, whatever the black box you can say, we don't know what is there inside these. Okay, so only and only if this will allow the neuron, then it will fire and go ahead, otherwise it will be blocked, it will be dropped out. This is not dropout, this is not clearly dropout, Mayak. Okay, last time even you asked me the same thing, this is not the dropout is something else. Okay, so this is activation of neurons, firing or non-firing of neurons. So for the sake of example, what we'll do, I'll need to check whether whether an image of this sort of architecture exists or not. I have seen some sort of image like this, something like this, yeah. So you can take any of them as input. Suppose this is input. Okay, let's suppose this is input, because every one of them is glowing. Now from them, few of them are firing ahead. Now after firing, few of them got blocked, and the rest of them have fired ahead, and out of them, 2 have not returned anything, 3 have returned. What do I mean by the synapse or the activation function is the resistance. If the resistance is under control, that means the voltage or current or whatever that electronic symbol looks like, if that thing is fair enough to glow that bulb, the bulb will be blown off and it will fire, otherwise it will not fire. Simple enough. Okay, might be yeah, if I can show you an example of biological. Some this sort of stuff. So they have both the things. They have dendrite, nucleus, cell body, axon, terminal, and this is input, some function, and the output. Right. So there will be an input to the node. The node will do something into this circle and send out something. Then there would be some like pre-processing, and the thing will move on to the next node. And this is how it is being related to the biological brain, and that is why it is known as neural network, as it is replicating the concept of neural or neurons or the nervous system of human body. Fine, are we clear about neurons, synapse, signal transfers, dendrites and axons? Axons are those big closed bodies, okay, which we call as neurons. So axon is equivalent to neuron, dendrite is equivalent to the ports connected to neurons, and synapse is something equivalent to activation function, which is formatting the which is giving the permissions of signal transfer. Are we clear with these things so far?
Yeah.
Are we clear
Yes,
about
sir.
module 1 completely?
Yeah.
Both of you, any doubt, just go and read this thing, open it in your laptop, or you can, if it is clearly visible
Sir,
for
I
you,
have
don't
one
doubt from here. Yeah, yes please.
Sir, activation function is like firing a neuron or not?
Okay, activation function is just like you're passing or not passing in an exam. If you will pass, then only you will be promoted to next class. If you will not pass, you will not be promoted. If you will pass, you will get your BTech degree. If you will not pass, you will not get your BTech degree. Simple enough. So technically, we will discuss it when the time will come. We have a complete chapter of activation function. I'll see and search. Just wait if I can get it. Yeah, right here. We have complete theory for that, but we'll do that when the time will come. But for now, do you have a clear understanding of this?
Yes, sir.
The whole thing written in module 1, every single word should be very clear to both of you. If it is not clear, I'll wait for 5 minutes. You can ask me until and
So
unless
can you
it,
share
yeah.
synopsis, that second introduction to synopsis?
Introduction to synapse, not synopsis, it is synapse. Okay.
Yeah.
So synapse is a kind of air gap or just a gap. What does it mean? Like suppose there is, you are walking on a road, okay, and you are finding that there is a big pothole in the road. Okay. So there is a big construction going on and there is a kind of hole in the road. Now there are two people walking on the road. You being an adult of around 20-22 years of age, and there is one more person with you with 5 years of age. And the hole is big enough for that 5 years old kid, but it is ignorable for you. You can take a big step or you can do a jump, and you will be on the other side. But that 5 years old kid, if he will make a jump, he will not be able to cross that thing. That is what it means by synapse. So crossing a synapse will involve two things, will be depending over two things, the size of the hole and the capability of a person. Right? So
Yeah.
similarly right here, technically the size means the cutoff for the activation function and the intensity of the signal, the value from the previous node, the value for the input. Value for the input and the
Sir, what
cutoff.
do you mean by cutoff in that?
Okay, so cutoff will be auto decided on different sort of activation function we will study. There are different activation functions in use. So whatever activation function you will be using, you will be choosing a particular cutoff for that. Right?
Oh,
Any other doubt, Nathan? Any other doubt, Mahek?
no, sir. If I arise, I will ask.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So there we go with the module 1. Now understanding about the model 2. So model 2 is more about structure of artificial neural network, in which we talk about replication, we talk about the layers, and like all the concepts involved into a neural network, the complete structure of neural network. That how does a neural network basically helps out in making decision. For that I need to redraw all the things, and this is what exactly the same thing which we discussed in the bootcamp as well. In neural network there are some things named as layers, so I'll draw it with some another color, some light color. Okay, so whatever I'm drawing is a kind of layer. Column means a layer. Okay, then there would be different nodes. Something like this a neural network looks like. Okay, neurons in every layer. Then I'm talking about one particular architecture that is known as dense neural network. Dense means all the node in hidden layer will be connected to all the previous nodes and all the next upcoming node. So this node will be connected to this, and this. Okay, so similarly everything here. So whenever I need to draw the dense connection, now onward, I'll be making this two-way pointing arrow in order to demonstrate that dense connection. In the last, I'll draw it because it is a single neuron. This is how my neural network looks like. In that, there are few things like there are neurons, weight and bias, and collection and simulation, summation, activation, firing, non-firing. Just leave it for now. About layers, there are hidden layers. This thing is known as input layer. This part, okay, I'll make a box around it with green color, whatever sort of color it is, and with a yellow color right here. Okay, so this is input layer, this is output layer, this whole thing. From here to here, these are known as hidden layers. Hidden layer could be 1, could be 2, could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. My question to you is, increasing the number of hidden layers will increase the time taken by the algorithm or will decrease the time taken by the algorithm?
Increase the time.
What about your response, Raghunathan?
It may be decreasing time, I think. So there will be a server.
No. I'm not asking you what you need to do is, I am asking you if I'll add one more layer right here. Okay, if I'll add one more layer of 5 nodes, then will it increase the time of of training, or will it decrease the time of training?
I
Time
think
taken,
it's a decreasing time.
it will decrease the time, but how?
So
Actually,
there
it
will
will
be a
increase the time. Actually, it will increase the time because then number of connections would be more, and we will understand now that how does number of connection make any impact over the time taken. We need to okay, we'll be discussing about weights and also that thing we'll be discussing there. For now we are clear with the layers, that there are hidden layers, there are input layer, there is an input layer and there is an output layer. Okay, and there are different number of nodes into it which may or may not be same. There is no restriction that they are supposed to be same. No, there is no such condition. After that, there are connections. So I'll explore the connection of this one. Okay, suppose this connection I'll be talking about. Every connection would be having some weight. Let's suppose the weight of this connection is 0.1. Okay, weight of this connection is 0.7. Weight of this connection is 0.8. Okay, no, 0.9, because sum of all the weights coming to a particular neuron should be summed up to should be 1. Sum should be 1. Okay, so this is 0.1, this is 0.9, so everything coming into it is summing up to 1 only, not less than 1, not greater than 1. Similarly, right here, some weight here 0.7 and some weight here 0.3, it has summed up to 1, and similarly for this one. So I'll be taking an example of one particular weight. What does that weight mean? Weight means the significance of a particular neuron in the contribution of decision taken by next neuron. How does this weight be calculated? Firstly, randomly, on the first, randomly, and then as the time keeps on going, the training keeps on going and going and going, our model will improve this random weight to a direction where it will where it will be more optimized. And how it will be going on, we will be discussing it, that might be in the next few classes. Then, apart from the weight, there is something named as bias for the whole layer. Okay, so the bias is 10, suppose, for this layer. So whatever coming into this, and suppose the bias for this layer is 7. Okay, just imagine it to be 7, I don't know. Fine, so bias for this is 7. Now what does that mean? Whatever will come into this particular node right here, okay, after all the summation and everything, 7 will be added to it. 7 as the bias. And how does these things are relatable to machine learning? For that, I'll just duplicate this. and make a linear regression graph. Are you both aware of linear regression graph? Imagine it to be a linear line. Okay, and there like a lot of data is segregated. Okay, so this is a kind of linear regression model. Suppose, are you both clear about this? How will it get to be
Yeah.
molded up? Right, Raghunathan, is this
Yes,
clear to
yes,
you
sir.
that linear regression, how does it formate like this? Right.
Sir.
Now, what is the meaning of weight? The slope of this particular line. Slope means this angle, this angle. The angle of this particular line with x-axis. This angle, this is known as theta. Okay, slope means change in y divided by change in x, or dy by dx, or whatever you call it, max, like in the mathematics, curl y by dx. Okay, this is what we call by slope. So if suppose our line looks like this, okay, I'll just show you some graphic examples. Not this. Okay, what will be the mm, weight of this line going on? Just think of it. It will be approximately like around 100. No, not 100, 50, sorry, 50. Because for every 2 unit change in temperature, there is 100 unit change in the sail. Right. So on an average, if I'll take this line as like this, straight, or if I'll reduce it a bit, so it will be like around 40. So for every 2 unit change, there will be around 80 units change in the sail. So from 200 it will go to 280. From suppose this line will go like this. So from 300 it will go to 380 for every 2 unit change into this. So if it is going 80 units, then the slope will be 80 divided by change in y would be 80, change in x would be 2 unit, right? So it will be 80 divided by 2, which is 40. What will be the scope of this line? What will be the scope of this line?
1.
1. Okay. And what about this line? What will be the scope of this one?
5.
5. No,
I think two.
It will be something
it will be
negative.
3. It will be 3. Just try to understand. See, take the point 0 and point 1. So change in y is 5 minus 2. Okay, so the blue dot right here is on line number 2. I'll visualize this more clearly to you. Just take this point 0 and take point 1. So at 0 there is 0.2 and at 1 there is 0.5. So change in y is 5 minus 2, 3, and change in x is 1. So the slope will be 3. And this is a straight line. So the slope will remain constant. Just like right here. So it was 5 and 8. 8 minus 5 divided by 2 minus 1. It will be 3. So this will basically calculate the slope. Change in y divided by change in x, and this is known as the weight of a line. Now coming to what is intercept. Please put it on mute if there is any kind of noise at the back. Okay, great. So what is the meaning of slope? This line, if I'll extend, it will cut the y-axis at some this point. Okay, so this point. This height is known as the intercept or bias or the set off, we could say. So basically the majorly used term is known as bias. So what we are doing, suppose this line would be started from origin in the same direction. Okay, so this line would be something like this. Now whatever value you will get at this point is this one. Fine. If this line will start from this point, what value you will get is, suppose they are parallel line, so what you'll get is this one. What is added? This part. And if they are parallel lines, so obviously this will be the same. That is why it is known as bias, and that is why it is added in the last. So what we will do, we will say M being the scope, X, this is the whole of line, but if it is not starting from the origin, then plus B. Okay, so B will be added. The reason I gave you, if the line will start from origin, it will give you this point. If the same line will start from point 4, it will give you this point plus 4. Understanding the concept of parallel lines, is this thing clear, that why do we need to add bias and multiply weight? What will be the scope of this line? I just draw it first and then I'll ask you. Wait. Suppose it is parallel to x-axis. What will be the scope of this line?
Zero.
0. Now, suppose x is our dependent feature and y is our independent feature. Okay. So the data is something like, I'll give you my mobile number, or I'll give you the mobile number of 10 lakh people across the globe, and you need to tell me whether they are human or not. A very hypothetical situation. So I already gave you that mobile number, obviously they would be of human being. No matter how many mobile number I give, whichever mobile number I give, this one or this one or this one or this one, the value of the output will remain the same, which is the value for human being, right? Suppose this is animal, this is human being, this is something like else, whatever. Okay, so the value remains constant. Now what is the impact of the given input on the output? What is the importance of the given input? Do you think the given input is anyhow important, or is anyhow contributing to tell whether they are human or not? In order for me to tell me that a particular thing is human or not, I need to have some physical structure of the person, not the mobile number. Obviously, if you have a mobile number, then the person would be only human. That is why if we perform the same thing over it, so what we will get is whatever x I'll give, x means the input, no matter whatever x I'll give, my mobile number or yours or someone's or third person's or fourth person, I'll multiply it with 0. So what I will get is B only. So B will be this thing. So for whatever mobile number I'll give, what I get, this B, that means the human being. So B will be, and I'll be having an equation at the back end that if B will be 2, that means human being. So this is class 2. What I get as an output is class 2, class 2, class 2, class 2 again and again. This is class 1 right here, and this is class 3. So is this thing now clear, that why bias is being added and why theta is being multiplied, the change in y over change in x slope is being multiplied?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, sure. What I said, suppose I have a graph, I'll clear everything. Are we clear with about bias, that why we need to add it? Are we clear with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll perform one more graph operation. That this is our graph. So right here I'm having all the mobile number, and right here I'm having all the people, all the categories of living being. I'll just say it, C for category. So there are insects, reptiles, human being, animal. I don't know, like I'm not into GK anymore. that the reptiles or insects are same or not. But suppose category A, category B, and human being and category D. Now, if they are of mobile, like if I'll give you the mobile number data, then obviously they'll belong to human beings. So for this point, the point will write here. For this point, the point will lie here. For this point, the point will lie here. Our best fit line looks like this. Straight line basically. Okay. Slope of this will be
0.
0. Okay. Our mx plus b will be reduced to only b because m multiply x will be destroyed to 0. Whatever x you will give, it will be multiplied with 0. So it will be just dropped to b, reduced to b. What is the b? B means this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So b means 3 for this best fit line. So whatever input I give, I'll get the output as 3. Right. That means whatever input I give for mobile number, I'll get the output as human being. There's a simple mathematics going on behind the complex machine learning and deep learning operations. This is the simplest of theory. That is why theta would be added or m would be added, whereas bias would be bias would be added and m would be multiplied. We call it wx plus c or mx plus b or howsoever. Raghunathan, is it clear to you? Are you on call?
So can you explain on bias?
Yeah, I'll explain it one more. I'll explain it once more, no problem. What I discussed is that there is x-axis of all the mobile numbers, of your mobile number, of my mobile number, of all the students from your college, all the students from my city and everywhere. Like I have 10 lakh mobile numbers and I have categories that this mobile number belong to an insect, reptile, or human being, or elephant. Oh, sorry, not elephant, animals. Particularly, I'm talking about categories. Okay. So for point A, the point for mobile number A, the point belongs here. For mobile number B, the point belongs here. For mobile number C, the point belongs here. And I came up with a straight line as my best fit line. Okay. So we know for the straight line parallel to x-axis, the slope will be 0. You understand this, Raghunathan? That how does the slope will be 0?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So the slope
It's
will
like
be
a
0
same thing.
because change in y is 0 and change in x is whatever you can take, 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, that doesn't matter. So change in y is 0, so everything will be reduced to 0. Now the equation of a prediction looks like m into x plus b. So if m is 0, this whole thing will also be 0. M into x, 0 multiply anything will be turned down to 0 only. What we are left with is b. Now if b would be 3 for this, that means for whatever mobile number I give, I will get the output as 33333. And at the back end, I know 1 means insect, 2 means reptile, 3 means human being. So I can easily decode 3 to human being. Is that clear now?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Is that clear now?
Hello.
Raghunathan, you are audible to me. Can you hear me? There's a lot of noise from his back. Anyhow, so this is what we have discussed about weights and bias. This is how weights and bias looks like. You understand
Hello.
neurons now, weights, bias. Yes, Raghunathan, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, just rejoin. Might be it will work for you if you can hear me.
Hello. Hello.
I can hear you, buddy. Okay, he had gone. Anyways. Well, so Meg, the things are going clear. Any doubts going on into this
Yeah.
or any sort of feedback? The things are going slow or fast or like what?
Most of the things actually I already had an idea about them.
Yeah, in the boot camp we covered.
Yeah, even before that, actually, I've done a question too. on Coursera.
Okay.
तो
Okay.
बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट वेट एंड बायस वगैरह के एंड उसमें क्या वो लगाते हैं वो सब इतना तो आई ऑलरेडी न्यू
Hello.
लाइक रिवीजन.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have cleared in yes.
Yeah. So the things are clear to you now. Now you know about neurons, weights, bias,
Yes, sir.
right? Right. And we know about hidden layer as well. Single layer and multi-layer perceptron we'll be talking about. Now let's move about the next thing, that once we are clear with bias and weight, what to do next? How does our neural network looks like? So I'll borrow one thing from my neural network, a simple one-to-one connection. Okay, so this is my layer number n, and
Sir,
this
I
is
have
my,
one doubt.
yeah, go on.
So if in one problem, if your one neuron is it's, there will be several neuron passing the signal, sir, in the neural network.
Yes.
If one neuron in one step, when one propagation, if get a correct output, then it tried again and more and more. It's
Well,
same.
that is something about epoch and batch size that we'll be covering on when we move on to the neural network
Like
actually.
overfitting. It's on the same predicting that same value. It's like a bias, I think.
No, don't worry. When we'll move on to the epoch and batch size part, we'll be okay. When we'll be moving on to writing the neural network, then we will understand each and every practical code about it, reducing the overfit, making it a best fit, and everything. But for now, we are just understanding that what all is there in the neural network, what all like how all does it looks like. Okay. Then once a neuron passes on the signal to the next neuron, there is a weight in the picture. Okay, so the weight came out to be 0.5 and the value came out to be 13, suppose. Okay, obviously a neuron will pass the value, not the weight. The weight would be of connection. Okay, so this neuron passed 13 to this neuron with a weight of 0.5, and this neuron layer has a bias of 7. The value received right here at this point will be 13 into 0.5, which is 6.5, plus 7, that means 13.5. Okay, now out of that 13.5, it will be passing through a black box of activation function. An activation function would be there, and it will return some value into it. Okay, so now there is some value. Then this neuron, depending on the activation function and depending on the value, this neuron may fire or may get dropped. This is what it means by connection of one neuron to another. Similarly, there would be another neuron which gives the same value, some value, let's suppose 12, with a weight of 0.5, and the bias would remain the same. So 12 into 0.5 is 6, plus 7, 13. So what value we are having is 13.5 here and 13 here. Okay, so this thing will be added. So what are the operations performing in the neuron? Add a summation, then passing it to an activation function, suppose sigma, okay, sigmoid, then firing or not. I'll just say it right or wrong. These are the three operations going on in a neuron which is getting any input from the previous one, and then it fires or it doesn't fire. That's the basic theory behind a neural network, and this is how whole of the neural network works. So one neuron pass the value to all the four. Similarly, second neuron again, third neuron again. This neuron will receive three values. All the three values would be multiplied with the weight and summed up. Okay, so we get some IW for all the threes. It will be summed up. Once it will be summed up, it will be added with the bias, and once it will be added with the bias, it will be passed on from the activation function, and whatever the activation function will return, it will be considered as the output. Simple enough. That's how a particular neural network looks like. This is what I mean by collection and summation, and this is what I mean by activation function and firing and non-firing. Are the things clear till now? Even this till this hidden layer concept?
Yeah.
Yes,
Fine.
sir. Yes, sir.
Let's move on to the single layer perceptron and multi-layer perceptron. So we have an like I'll just show you an image. This is what it means to be a single layer perceptron. Okay, there is a single node. There are three previous nodes connected to it. All the three nodes are giving an input. It is summing up. Okay, then passing it through an activation function. The activation function might return a 0 or might return a 1 as it is having a symbol like of this, of a logic gate. Okay, so it is having 1 as a seal function and 0 as the floor function. And whatever coming as the output is the output of that single layer perceptron. This is how a basic single layer perceptron looks like. And there are multi-layer perceptrons. So multi-layer perceptron are the ones about which we were talking about since the start of this course. Obviously, all the neural network apart from a single layer are known as multi-layer perceptron. Okay, so this is the simple architecture about a multi-layer perceptron. So single layer perceptron obviously doesn't yield any value or any accuracy or so, but it is just a kind of concept that yes, it also exists. So just multiplication of replication of single layer perceptrons again and again and again and again. This is a single layer perceptron. This is second single layer perceptron. This is third single layer perceptron. And this is similarly, this is fourth single layer perceptron. Right. So replication of single layer perceptrons again and again and again and again and again formates the entire network.
He left the class again. Should we wait?
He'll rejoin. Well, let us continue. The video is there. You can follow up along.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, nothing much else to discuss about for today because the foundation, I guess, is going enough of that. If we'll move on for the next part as well, the next thing is installation. So you need to install the things. Discussion part will keep on doing in the next part. So which particular system are you using, Mahek?
Python.
No. I'm talking about the operating system rather, the Windows or Ubuntu or.
Windows.
And does your laptop have a graphics card?
I don't know.
Okay. What you need to do is you just need to check whether your laptop have a graphics card or not. So what you need to do write is you need to write DXDIAG, or you can just, that's a simple thing actually, that's a very common thing. You just need to go to Google and search for whether my laptop has a graphics card or not, this sort of query, or you can check your laptop's version. Yes, Raghunathan, I haven't actually
Hello.
explained anything. I haven't actually explained anything. I was just waiting. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
I was just discussing that what sort of operating system, whatever sort of operating system you are using,
Hello.
I'll write, please put it on mute. Please put it on. Yeah. So you need to write this command pip or pip3 or whatever version of pip you're using, TensorFlow, and similarly pip install Keras. If you do not have TensorFlow or Keras installed in your system, you can install both of them or either of them or whatever, like that depends on your system itself, right? And once it will be installed, we'll keep on discussing about these tools in our next class, and your next class will be on Monday. Fine. And then we'll be discussing about the next stuff.
What
Enough
does
of
the
the
graphics card
yeah.
do?
Okay, so graphics card is basically TensorFlow has a version of CPU and TensorFlow also has a version for GPU. And GPU version is only there for NVIDIA graphics cards. So you can easily check it out with your laptop's model, putting it up on internet and checking for whether this model has a graphics card or not. And it is only available for NVIDIA graphics card. So if you have a graphics card, you need to install the GPU version of TensorFlow. And how to
So
install?
basically, it's a hardware.
Yeah, every framework, this is not a library, this is a framework. So every framework always takes hardware in account in order to optimize that. It's a kind of hardware optimization platform. Okay.
Okay.
Well, if I talk about TensorFlow, is not just a machine learning or deep learning toolkit. It is a number processing framework in order to process the numbers efficiently. We use it. No worries, Raghunathan. We are not discussing anything so serious about the topic. We're just discussing about the installation. Okay. You can copy the command and install it right there. But for now, just please put it on mute. I'm getting a lot of noise from the back. So you need to install it with pip install TensorFlow and pip install Keras. If you want to go for the graphics card version, just search for installing TF GPU. TF is the common name of TensorFlow. Right, you will get a lot of blogs. Even TensorFlow official website has also some support for this. They'll give you all the requirements for that. Fine. So, but the necessity is that you need to have the NVIDIA GPU, NVIDIA graphics card into it, and your system should be having like given consideration, RAM, ROM, GPU, and everything. That is also mentioned there. But otherwise, even if you do have graphics card and you can start with the CPU version, I would definitely suggest you to start with only and only the CPU version itself. The code will not be changed at all. The code will remain the same. If you'll be having the GPU version, you'll use GPU and make the things faster. If you'll not be having it, you'll make the things comparatively slower, but not that much for now, for the starting. And this will basically work on ahead. Okay. So just make sure that you should not be having any doubt into the module 1 and module 2. Read it alongside. Follow all the resources on the internet. I'll not be giving you any course document anyhow. I don't want you to be spoon-fed like school students. And even you are not school students. So the course document you can easily find on internet. What is my purpose is to explain that document in front of you. And that basically will be putting up our energy into that part. Fine. So let's meet up in the next class. And that is all from my side. Yes, Raghunathan.
Sir, can you explain about perceptron?
Perceptron. Okay. So we have discussed about two types of perceptron. One is single layer perceptron and one is multi-layer perceptron. So single layer perceptron is something wherein we have one node in the next layer and 3, 4 or n number of nodes in the previous layer. So it looks something like this if I just research my own given thing. This is a kind of single layer perceptron. So one node, okay, this is a combination of one node itself. And we are getting a lot of input from the back, and we are doing the summation of it and passing it through the activation function, something like this. Okay, input layer and output layer, that is all. This is how does a single layer perceptron looks like. And multi-layer perceptron, whole of the entire neural network, this and all that other stuff which you have discussed, something like this. Even if we have another, so all that will contribute to multi-layer perceptron. It is named as single layer perceptron, but actually it is not. Fine.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So let's meet up in the next class. That is it from my side for today. And about the next class, you'll get the info on your WhatsApp group. And see you soon there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.